Hi, and good evening. Welcome, welcome, one and all. Thank you for joining me once again. I am Antoinette Clay. I'm your host for Parenting After Dark. Thank you for tuning in, taking the time to just sit with me. We're going to have some real talk conversations. The last several episodes, I've been talking about the parent teen connection, and tonight I wanted to actually flip the table and talk about this conflict that sometimes seems to happen, but not really the conflict. Let's get to the root of that and what that really is. And so I thought it would be appropriate to just my mic. I thought it would be appropriate to really talk about um, your anger as a parent. This is something that, if even if you're not a parent, you're going to deal with anger. But when it comes to your teens and when it comes to your relationship with them, a lot of times, because of the way teens come as they're going through that stage of development, a lot of times they push our buttons, right? They know how to push our buttons. They've lived with us probably all of their lives, or they've been around us for so much or for so long that um, they know what gets under our skin, what really makes gets on our nerve, rather. And so I thought it would be fitting to talk about it because sometimes, it's not just getting angry, right? But it is why you're getting angry. Asking yourself, okay, this situation, it may warrant you being angry with them, granted, but sometimes the little things um, can be an indication. You know, the Bible says it's the little foxes that destroy the patch. And so a lot of times it's the little things that happen that really is an indication that as parents we're already angry, or we have some unresolved trauma, some wounds that have not been addressed and therefore have not healed. And so I didn't make notes. I wanted to really talk from the heart because I know it's one of those things that, you know, it happens where, life happens. And if you were like me, a single mom, sometimes it's double the stress, it's double the everything because you're picking up the slack, or at least you are attempting to pick up the slack where the other parent has dropped the ball. And so, just thinking about, just some of the conversations, some of the arguments, some of the things that you have spoken to or with your team about. And I want you to think about that because what was really the underlying cause? And so it really takes a lot to unpack our emotional part of ourselves. It really takes a lot. And you may think, well, you know what? They've been coming in late every night for the last 2 weeks, and I'm just sick of it. Totally get it. Totally warranted, especially in a day and age like today. And so you do your normal routine, your normal spiel about, um, what your curfew is, and why is it that you keep going there, and why you keep doing that, and why aren't you not listening, and so forth. And then it just becomes with like the one time they come in, you're flying off the handle. I'm tired of you. And you use all your choice words, which I won't repeat here, but you may use your choice words. You may use words that's not even choice words, but they might not be good words. They might be some real heated words. And that's the thing other thing I want to touch on. You know how you respond in certain situations. And so a lot of times when we're angry, we are reacting. We are not responding. Responding means that you're operating with more self control, more discipline, right? You are intentional about what you're saying, so you're not just going off, right? You are honoring the fact that, okay, this is another human being, this is another person. And although they may not be a full fledged adult where you feel like you can really go in and say what you want to say, they still are a human being. They still have feelings. They still love, and they're sensitive, and all these things. So I need to handle this with care. And so sometimes, like I said, in certain situations where the curfew is just, they're just not regarding the curfew. Sometimes, if they're not doing their laundry, if they're not keeping their room clean, all the things. If you keep getting the calls from the school, if they're not going to school, you're getting those calls. And it's like it can be a rolling thing where they're constantly, it's always something with them, right? But I'm talking about leaving a dish in the sink. You know that emoji with the head blows off? Um, Asking them to go to the store for the 40th time, and you go in their room and they're still sitting there, haven't gotten dressed, nothing. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm doing it now. Um, Coming in right from work. I've done it. Why is there dishes still in the sink? You know? Um, why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? Why is it that you're not doing X, Y, and Z? Like, it can be minor things, things that don't even warrant for your head to be blown off. And so you want to begin to take a look and find out, is this really something worth going in and going off about? Because the reality is that if we really do that hard look, what they're doing developmentally is appropriate. However, our response or our reaction, which one is coming across, our response or our reaction? And I want you to think about that because, a lot of things that are said, you know, and, when we say things when we're angry, right? Or we say things in the heat of the moment, you can't take those things back. And you can't take back hurt. You can't take back, I don't love you. You can't take back, I don't like you. Once it's said, once it's out there, that's it. And at this particular stage for them, when you say things, especially things with such intensity, with, again, being angry and, just coming out of your mouth, I mean, like almost like a venomous type of way where you're, yeah, 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 you get on my nerves. I can't stand. What the heck is wrong with you? Why are you always doing this? And then why you, when it's just that rolling, venomous reaction, it's not them, it's you. And we like to think, and I know sometimes, especially women, we like to think we have all these balls in the air, we're juggling, and we know what to do, we know how to do it, and we're doing well, or X, Y, and Z, but not really. You have to begin to deal or check yourself in this area. If they miss curfew 50 times, yeah, it's over the top. But still check yourself. Are you reacting or are you responding? It's not about them. Because trust me, in the lieu of everything that we do every day, all day, when it's the tables are turned and God is looking at us sometimes and what we're doing and how we're doing, how we're responding, not responding, how we're reacting and not reacting, how we're behaving and not behaving, I'm pretty sure he would be more than warranted to kind of lay down the hammer and say, you know what? I'm just done. Just go over there and I'll talk to you in 5, 10 years or whatever. But he doesn't do that. Yes, he does rebuke us. Yes, he does convict us of certain things. He does call us to the carpet. He does check us. And so, as parents, we need to take that attitude and that approach when it comes to our teens. And, that anger, you got to get to the source of that because their behavior, their attitude, their mindset is an indication that if you are reacting, like I said, and just going off, it's an indication that there's something deeper there. There's a deeper issue. And you want to address that because what's going to happen is that is probably how you're going to react every single time. So maybe the first time they come in late 10 times and then you react. Maybe the next time they don't do the dishes for 2 or 3 times and you keep reminding them that that's their responsibility, that's their chore, and you react. But there will come a time where they do something, whatever it may be, and that is the straw that will break the camel's back. And you will just light into them like you wouldn't believe. You will light into them. It would be the worst, kind of probably your worst going off that you've ever done. And what normally follows that when we react that way, when we really let go and vent all about everything, it's usually followed by guilt and shame. Because deep down, after you have calmed down, after you have gotten yourself together, gotten some water, got your wine, or whatever it is that you do, when you come back, you're gonna realize, wait a minute, what was I thinking? And you're gonna have this horrible feeling like, what the heck did I just say? What the heck did I just do? Why did I even respond like that? Yeah, I'm angry, because you say something 50 times and it's like, when are you gonna get it? But did it really warrant that kind of response? And I mean, you can go in, as a parent, you can think of all the things. The fact that you don't have enough money for this, and it's like it's a culmination of everything you're angry and you just at your team. There's a movie that that I like. It's actually called 300. It's the story of Leonidas. I think he was a Greek. I'm not sure. Anyway, Leonidas 300. It's played. The main actor is Gerald Butler, and there's a scene at the end where he throws up his shield to block what appears to be like hundreds, if not thousands, of arrows that his enemy has launched at him because they're in a war. And so he holds up, they hold up he holds up his shield to block them. Wait a minute, I got that scene a little confused. He does hold up his shield to block these arrows, but there is another scene later on where they do it again and those arrows just completely destroy him, basically. But in the scene, he holds up his arrows to block, holds up his shield to block these arrows that's being launched at him. And I mean, it's massive, but yet his shield is able to block them. And if you think about when in the heat of the moment, when you're angry to that point, it's the same effect. It's hundreds, if not thousands, of arrows. But in the form of words that you are speaking to your teen, that you are launching at them. And they're all negative because I don't know anybody who's angry and speaks positive things, right? I don't know anybody who does that. When you're angry, you're speaking everything, how you feel, how you made me feel, you know, and it's blame, it's intention, it's you're getting on my nerves. This is so much negative. You're so much like your mother. You're so much like your father. I can't stand you. Those are arrows that you can't take back, that you can't say, you know what, I decided I shouldn't have threw that arrow. Let me take it back. It's already there. It already hit its target, missed its target, or whatever, but it was already launched. And the feelings on the side of your teen is like, my mother hates me. My father hates me. It's that attitude of they can't stand me. I got to get out of here. And that may be the furthest thing from your mind. Or let's just say real talk, maybe that's how you really feel. Maybe you talking with that anger and that guilt and that rage because that's how you may really feel. I have talked to a lot of parents who said they didn't want children or their child was not planned or whatever. And so they have these feelings of, you know, you taken away my life. You have these feelings of regret or remorse or, if it wasn't for you, you know, and we have to check that. No, maybe it wasn't the best circumstances when you conceived a child. Maybe it wasn't ideal, right? However, that's still a person. And they warrant, and it is, you have to, I'm not even going to, you know, play lightfoot with this. You're required to show respect and love and treat your children with dignity and with regard. You're required to do that. That is your responsibility. Now, granted, you may get frustrated, right? You may be tired, you're overworked, you're working double jobs, you're trying to go to school, you're trying to make a better life. Take your break. Take your break. I used to tell my daughter when I come home, just don't come at me with everything. Give mommy a chance. Let me go in my room, let me relax, let me just have a breather. Because in the capacity in which I was functioning, I was taking care of children all day. Calling parents, talking with parents, providing, comfort and care. And so by the time I got home, my mommy meter was like zoop. And so I just needed that time to kind of like to recoup. So sometimes what I would do, and I'm gonna go into this because I wanna go into it. Sometimes what I would do is those would be the days that I would buy dinner or I would take her out and then we stop and pick up dinner. So that way, that would give me an hour or so, in the park with her. And like it's warm now, so it gets darker later. So like on a Friday night, we can stay in the park until, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock because there was no school the next day. And that would give me 2 or 3 hours when I'm not hearing mommy, you know, and she would be playing and engaging and having fun with other kids. And then we stop and we get something really quick to eat. And I come home and we eat, we watch a movie, and now I've had 4 or 5 hours, of downtime. As she got older, because she's the only child and she got older, it was different. Of course, they don't need you as much, but they still do. So there was still those times it was like, okay, mom, she just got home or whatever. Mom, I need to talk to you later. Fine. We set a time. We talk while I'm cooking and preparing dinner or whatever. Right? And so you have to make sure you have that time. You have to make sure you have that time allotted to kind of have that breather so that whatever the case may be, whether it's not washing the dishes or cleaning your room or whatever it is, you're not going to the ninth and 10th hour, right? But you have to also, in addition to doing things like that, you have to find out, okay, why am I so angry? Why? Why am I so angry? And you have to pray and say, God, why am I so angry? Because a lot of times we don't want to be honest with ourselves. We don't want to know the truth. We want to know what can help us in the moment, a quick and speedy remedy. We want that emotional Tylenol. Take it, in an hour or two, you're feeling good. But to do that deeper work, to really do that deeper emotional assessment, to find out what's really going on and why whatever behavior your teen has displayed towards you, what did it trigger in you for that response? Because everything they do, again, developmentally is appropriate. They're finding their way, they're discovering who they are, they're learning about how to communicate, they're learning how to identify emotions and to communicate those emotions and those needs and desires in respectful ways. So a lot of what they're doing, of course, is gonna just it's gonna seem like it's just like they off the chain, right? And that's okay. But if it triggers us in a negative way, if it triggers us to react as opposed to respond in love and in patience and in kindness, in the fruit of the spirit, we have to find out what's really going on. We have to find out what's really happening because they don't deserve that. And some of us will parent the way we've been parented. So if we had angry fathers and angry mothers, if we had, fathers who weren't patient and mothers who weren't patient and who just didn't speak with respect and talk down to you or abused you in some way, you take that, and if you don't deal with it, if it's not resolved, if it's not addressed, you know, through whatever means, be it therapy, through prayer or whatever, if it's not addressed, it will come up again. And your teen's certain behavior will trigger that because that's the nature of a wound. When it's not healed, if you throw water on it, salt water on it, any kind of anything, you're going to feel some type of reaction. And it's usually a painful one. And so that's it. I don't want to go too much into it tonight because I believe I'm going to have to come back with a part two. But I wanted you to just think about that. Think about those questions, right? Think about those questions and, ask yourself, why am I so angry for something so minor? Why is this really a big issue? Is it really about dishes, or is it the fact that I'm just tired and I'm angry and I want to come home for once in my life and come home and find everything in order and I don't have to do any kind of delegating and ruling and laying down the law, right? You want to ask yourself that. And I mean, like, real talk, ask yourself that. Why am I really angry? What's really going on? What does it really mean? The fact that something so minor as pick up your socks or clean up the bathroom. Why did I have to go to, you know, on that scale of 1 to 10, why did I have to start off with a 10, with an 8? And the reality is frustration plays a major role. It plays a major role. Just want to make sure I have no comments. Frustration plays a major role in a lot of times with parents because you're just frustrated, you're tired, you're working, you have to deal with, people on your job, on a train, traveling in your car, or whatever the case may be. And, it's like, you don't have that luxury all the time to, take necessary breaks sometimes. And then sometimes, in all reality, it's like you're going from work to another job, and then in your home, you have another job of parenting and taking care of things and making sure everything is settled. And so, a lot of times, not finding time for yourself is a huge factor. Being emotionally overwhelmed. And let me just say this, thank you, Lord. A lot of times when we are emotionally overwhelmed, it's not just because of the current situation of, in this case, our teens. It is emotional baggage that we are carrying. I just really feel that for someone. It is the emotional baggage that you have been carrying for so long. And I want to encourage you to release it and give it to God. You have to, for your sake. For your sake, you deserve that emotional break, that emotional release. Smoking, drinking, having sex, having this guy or that girl and this one and that one, all of that, people do it to cope, to be honest. But you don't want to cope. You don't want to cope all of your life. You don't want to spend a large amount of time coping. Coping is for the moment. You're on a plane and you bought the economy seat. So now you got to deal with this little bit of space for the next 2.5 hours. So you cope. You get on your phone, you do something to take your mind off. That's appropriate. But when you carry a lot of emotional baggage, emotional pain, emotional fear, emotional doubt, low self esteem, low self worth, when you're carrying all of these things and have been carrying them for a long time, then you being emotionally overwhelmed is not just from that moment. You might be like, well, I want to come home. Yes, they're old enough now where they can do more around the house. I'll talk about that communication part a little bit later. But check what's going on in you. Do an emotional check. What's really going on? Take time to sit down and be quiet and allow the Holy Spirit to reveal some things. Because He will. He will reveal it. He will show it to you. He may bring up a memory. He may show you something, an actual vision of a memory. He may bring back a conversation you had or something. And so when it does and that happens immediately, Holy Spirit, I give that to you. And confess to Him, I'm angry. I'm angry. My mother let me down. When my father left, she let me down. She didn't try to do this, or it was because of her he walked away. Or when my father let me down, and he was never there. Whatever the case may be, confess it in that moment to the Lord. Lord, I give it to you. And let me tell you, a lot of times with deep hurt and emotional wounds and things like that, you may have to do it more than once. You may have to confess that more than once. You may have to say it out loud more than once. But guess what? God is everything. When I say everything, I mean like whatever you think you got that's like so deep or so bad that He can't handle it, trust me, it's not. we tend to make emotional mountains out of our stuff because, like, sometimes we feel like nobody going through it like me. Nobody understand these kids is getting on my nerves. And tell you really have no clue. That one right there, especially just like his mother. He just like his father. He just give it, give it, lay it down. Lord, I'm laying this at your feet. I may have to do it again tomorrow. He's like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Give it to him and allow him to love on you. Allow him to take that from you so that you can be free, so that you can bring your children up in this stage of development with them. Now you're walking alongside of them as an example. You're leading by example. So if everything you do, or if certain subjects are taboo because I can't bring it up because they're going to hit the ceiling, that's what you're teaching them. That emotional safety and acceptance and love and respect go out the window if it's a subject that I don't like. So we gotta check that. We have to check that. We have to do the emotional check within ourselves. We have to sit down and take that emotional checklist and say, okay, what about this? What do I feel about that? How do I feel about this? Or what's really going on? Why am I really angry? Keep a diary. Why am I really angry? Why did I go off on my baby like that? With some of us, we ain't even go off on the other parent like that. Why are we going off on at this baby like this? Unacceptable. I have to say it's unacceptable. We gotta get that together. You're not a bad parent. You're not a bad person. But if you got stuff going on, you gotta get to the bottom of it. You really do. And God is, He's like, listen, I gave you these babies so they can be a blessing to you, so that they can love you and be a blessing and be a blessing to the people, you know, in the world. They have solutions. They have things and gifts that I put on the inside of them that I need for you to cultivate and bring out. So if you're always in this state of emotional, sensitive, anger, being triggered by everything, and then you're not going to really be able to do that effectively. And that's going to have serious ripple effects. So I just wanted to encourage you tonight with that. I'll see you next week live right here on YouTube at Parenting After Dark. You're doing an awesome job. I'm going to be praying for you. I believe and I trust God that this is something that you're going to be able to look back on and thank God, not me, but thank God that, Lord, I thank you for helping me to get it together. And just open that door and just be open to His leading and His prompting. And thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next week right here live at 8 p.m. again at Parenting After Dark. Have a great week.